All right. Back to work. The party continues. We're not done yet. Couple more days left here this second week of March. Hope you guys had a fantastic day out there, but it's time to get back to work. Wednesday evening, 9th day of March 2022. My name is Joseph, and as always, welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, if you're watching for the first time tonight, boy, it's great to have you with me. My job tonight is to help us find the best trades, setting up for Thursday's trading session. I got a great video in store for you guys tonight. Charts are all ready in the background, as you can see. We got the oil, we got the Nasdaq, got the S&P, got a lot of great trades setting up for tomorrow. Boy, look at the moves on these charts today, right? Almost a $25 move on crude oil. Woo! Big moves on oil, big moves on the S&P and the Nasdaq. And I'll tell you, looking at the charts tonight, and obviously we'll go over my favorite trades for tomorrow so you know where to make your money for tomorrow. We'll also talk about in tonight's video some stuff to avoid because you can definitely tell, especially on crude oil right now, there are some traps out there that I definitely want to make sure you avoid those traps. And I'll show you some ways to capitalize on them in case you're trading on your own or if you're trading with us tomorrow in our trade room. A lot of great trades setting up here. Big moves on the charts oftentimes mean big reversals, trading ranges, nice deep pullbacks. So we have a lot to cover in tonight's video. I won't waste any time with the intro. If you guys are watching here for the first time, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. I publish my best trade ideas every evening on this nightly newsletter. Don't miss tomorrow night's video, so make sure you subscribe. A lot of this stuff is very time sensitive. Hit that little bell icon and make sure you get those alerts every time I publish something new. Also, if you have any questions for me tonight, don't be shy. Drop those questions for me in the comment section. I would love to answer any questions. I do personally answer all the questions myself. I like to answer questions and help you guys out as much as I can, so don't be afraid to post questions. And if you tune in every evening, if you enjoy this video as much as I enjoy making it, if you like the video, hit that like button for me here tonight. Appreciate you guys carving some time out and spending with me here on this video newsletter. But enough of the intro though, right? Where are we making our money? On Thursday here coming up here right around the corner. Well, boy, I shouldn't say everything, right? The S&P and the Nasdaq here are very bullish right now. Had a really nice, strong run. Really kind of a grindy move going higher. And I'll tell you, anytime you see those pop and grinds like that, they really kind of give us three specific, kind of scenarios that you want to be ready for. So we're going to go over those tonight, and kind of we'll talk about kind of how to make some money on those three. We might get all three of them, to be honest with you. Probably going to get at least two of them tomorrow, though. So you'll definitely want to make sure if you're a Nasdaq or an S&P trader, you're going to want to watch the entire video tonight. Over on the oil has this monster move down, right? Like $23 to almost $24 move going lower here. Huge move. Now, whenever I see a big move in one day, it's a monster move for oil, right? Even oil is a big move. Monster move. Whenever we see a monster move in one day, there's one particular situation that I always look for the following day. And I'll tell you, we talked about trading both sides of the market last night. We have that same opportunity here on oil. I could easily see some breakouts going lower. We've got another big round number waiting below. I could also easily see some reversals off the low, and man, oh man, there is a buffet of money to make on the oil tomorrow. But of course, you got to have the right plan, and we'll cover the plan tonight. I'll make sure you guys know where all the details are for tomorrow. However, though, let's talk about tomorrow, because tomorrow is not your average Thursday. We got a couple things going on tomorrow. Of course, we're all aware by now the whole, drama happening in Ukraine, right? The war happening right now, or the invasion of Ukraine right now. So that is really kind of keeping us on our toes, right? We are keeping our live news data right front and center during the day right now, and we're kind of keeping our eyes open for that. So just be aware, there definitely is that kind of cloud, that's still hanging over these markets here, right, for tomorrow, right? That cloud still kind of hanging over these markets. So a lot of that is just a known unknown, and, we got to kind of work through it. So be aware of that at any point tomorrow. We may hear some new development that may shake this whole thing up. So just bear with us on that. Now, in addition to that, we have what is arguably, outside of any new headlines about Russia and Ukraine, arguably the most important news of the week is tomorrow morning, that CPI report. Now, we all know we're all feeling the pinch right now from inflation, right? Here in California, we're paying like $55 a gallon in gasoline. It's not that high yet, but I'm sure give them some time, and I'm sure they'll find a way to get up that high. But we're all paying more for gas and everything, right? We're gonna find out just how much more we're paying, right, tomorrow morning at 8:30 Eastern time. And this, I'll tell you, this CPI report really sets up next week's FOMC. So it's not just tomorrow's news, but you got to be thinking big players in the market are going to be repositioning the chessboard, so to speak, after that news comes out, right? Because the Fed will certainly be talking about whatever that number comes out as tomorrow. The Fed will be mentioning that next week when we hear from the Fed. So that's a could be a very pivotal report there for tomorrow. And I can pretty much guess what we all hope happens, right? But we'll see what happens here. Now, third thing on our radar for tomorrow is rollover. As of right now, we are looking at a potential rollover on the E-minis, right? The S&P and the Nasdaq specifically. We are currently on the 0322 contract, and so you got to be aware we may have rollover at some point tomorrow morning. If we're lucky, it'll be before the opening bell up to that 622 contract. Now, what I do every time we start looking at rollover is the minute that 622 contract becomes, let's say 10,000, contracts of volume. So right, tomorrow morning we'll come in, we'll see whatever, 300,000 contracts, right? 8:30 in the morning tomorrow, right? Something like that. If we're within 10,000 contracts on the 622 to the 322, we're going to pull the plug and we'll trade the 622 tomorrow. All right. So, again, this is kind of a moving target, but just remember, once that 622 contract is more volume, right? It doesn't really matter when the rollover day is. All that matters is when the volume rolls over. And so what I always do is once we get relatively close, it'll kind of bridge that gap, and the 622 will be on our list here of going forward. Right? So be aware of that for tomorrow, right? So Ukraine is still going, right? Still on our radar right now. CPI report tomorrow at 8:30, and then again watch the rollover stuff. And obviously tomorrow morning, right, we'll be trading this stuff together in our trade room. We open up at 8 o'clock every morning, and we trade this stuff together. It's a great place to learn and earn. And we'll do this together tomorrow, right? So if you're with me tomorrow morning, I'll get you covered on the rollover, on the Ukraine situation, and right on that CPI report tomorrow morning. All right, back to our charts here. What's the game plan for tomorrow? Let's start first with the E-mini. Right, let's go to the E-mini. Now, again, don't forget, like I mentioned last night, I'm going to break this up. So we'll talk about some variations in each of these charts here, right? So I'm not going to blow all my ammunition in the first chart, right? So I'm going to be putting together teachable moments, good lessons to learn, different variations, different ways to trade situations. I'm going to keep it spicy all the way to the end of this video tonight, all right? I'll try not to repeat myself too badly, but, it is trading. A lot of repetition in it. All right. So, again, we get the rollover reminder on the E-minis for tomorrow. What's the most important factor? What are the key components when you look at a market like this? First of all, this is a hell of a bull market right now, right? That's one very obvious part. So we got to be thinking it's not a good idea to force reversals. It's a very strong bull market. And remember, as I've been kind of preaching all week, we have to remember to trade what we see right now, not what we think. If you turn on the television right now or open a newspaper or go on any social, all you're going to see is bad. That's what they do on the interwebs these days, right? They just try to scare the hell out of us at all times. So you've really got to be very disciplined as a trader these days not to let that bad news cloud your judgment. This is a very bull market right now, right? Until the chart changes direction, until we see a reversal, until we see momentum hold for the bears, we have to trade this like a bull market. So remember to trade what you see right now. And believe me, it's not easy. You turn on any news channel and they're talking about World War III right now. Every newspaper talks about it. So a professional trader has to remove all of that. And sometimes, like what I do is I put blockers, right? I just block the websites. That way, if my fingers happen to find their way over to those websites, it won't even let me go there, right? I don't want to let my mindset get poisoned by it. Anyways, bull market, that's one thing, right? Second really big clue is that look at the grind. right? See how it grinds like that? Now, unless you grab that 10 o'clock trap, right? Unless you grab that, there was really nothing else, right? There was no big move up, there was no deep pullback today. So that's a really big clue that really, you got to think any deep pullback right now will be seen as a really great buying opportunity, right? So that's the second thing. Big move up, not that many pullbacks. So a deep pullback would really be on the menu for tomorrow. What else do we see here right now? What else do we see? What else is kind of impacting this? A trading range. You can definitely tell the market is going into a trading range. Now, if you tune in and watch these videos every evening, you know I love ranges. I love ranges because ranges tell us, they give us 3 different ways to trade, but they also they reset everything. So everything, once we see a range, everything kind of resets. And I'll talk about kind of what I mean by that and why it's important and how we can use it to make money tomorrow. All right. So those are the three main components. So what do the buyers want to do right now? The buyers want to get that, right? They want to buy those dips, right? Definitely. And I can see a couple places to do it, right? Buying a channel low, right? Buying a nice deep pullback. So buyers would love to buy those dips. At the same time, the buyers would love to get long if we go higher, right? You'll notice in a second the Nasdaq is already up at last Friday's close. Remember, as I always tell you guys, once we get into Thursday and Friday's trading session, last week's close becomes a big deal. It's not usually a very big deal earlier in the week, right? But once we create that separation from last Friday, that's a very psychological level. And you'll see in a second the Nasdaq almost stretched a little bit this afternoon just to get it. Now, we've also got the big levels up top here. We got a range magnet overhead, right? So one thing about this chart, I think it's a very important part of this, is that we know the market made this big move up, right? And so we know we'd love to see a nice deep pullback here. If the market keeps going higher here without giving us any deep pullback, you have to be thinking that if it does give us a deep pullback late in the day, mid-morning tomorrow, for example, right? Maybe CPI report comes out, blast things higher, and then mid-morning we're getting that nice deep pullback, right? The deep pullback we wish we got right now, you know what I mean? So that's on my mind as we go higher there as well. And I would also keep an eye out for a range as we go higher here. All right, so where's the money going to be here for tomorrow? How do we make our money on this? Now you kind of know, how about the sellers? What do sellers want right now? The sellers have some really great opportunities. For example, if we get that deep pullback, the buyers buy it right up and we go back up, there's a great chance to short that top now, right? Because the buyers will of course reach their objective. So I love that trade, right? Love that short trade. And of course, you know me, I'm going to give you guys some follow-up trades off the high here. I also think, again, everything's kind of fluid right now with this Ukraine situation. I also have no problem with a reversal. Going back down, we got that big range from yesterday. So that range down there could act as a magnet. So if we can get a reversal going lower, right, get some momentum turning, I would love to go out and find some shorts, right, on the way down there. So the sellers are not knocked out of this. There definitely is going to be options for the bears here right now. Okay, what if the price goes lower? Let's do our thing here, right? Let's talk about how to trade this. Where's the easiest money going to be? Now, first of all, shallow pullback, right? I don't hate the shallow pullback at all right now because of the range. Remember, ranges almost always reset things. So we're marking the high, right? The amount above, the amount below. I got my channel down here. This is pretty self-explanatory, right? So if we get a shallow pullback, my problem with a shallow pullback is, again, we really want the deeper pullback. But sometimes we just don't get it when there's a range here. So a shallow pullback, what you want to do is you want to try to get in for a trap, right? As the market gives a shallow pullback, right? Shallow pullbacks are great. Traps are great in shallow pullbacks because they give us a chance to buy nice and low, right? So shallow pullback, think about a trap entry. Now, what if we see a deeper pullback here? Now, when it comes to a deeper pullback, what you want to keep in mind is that if it just simply pokes its head down in this area here, we can now look for what we call a failure, right? Kind of think about how the bears will come over, try to sell short here. Once those bears commit and try to sell short there, now we know exactly where their stops are, right? And we can now literally buy right into those stops with a failure pattern. One of my favorite trades when we have a range magnet up above us. Now, those failure patterns, they oftentimes will turn into pullback combinations, right? Pullback combination. So again, we pull back lower. The bears come in. They try to get short. All their stops are sitting right there. So we're buying the stops, failure pattern. And then we go up and over and we grab that first pullback off the moving average for a pullback combination. Where are my targets on this one? Where are my targets on this one? Well, one target, other side of the range. Second target, definitely that high of day. Those will be pretty reliable targets. All right, I got a couple more of these we're going to talk about too. I got a few more of these types of decent pullbacks here on the Nasdaq. All right, guys. Now, what if we go lower, right? How do we sell it as the market goes lower? And again, I'm going to talk about a few more of these on the Nasdaq, so you better keep watching. How do we sell it as it goes lower? If we can get that pullback, if the bears can hold the pullback now, and if they can jump off the moving average. Okay, this is really, really important. It doesn't matter how deep that pullback is. The market's too bullish right now. The sellers have to hold that pullback and really jump off the moving average. Once we get that 1, 2, 3 breakdown, now what I'll do is I'll find a new channel by drawing off the low, draw it up off that high, and then watch closely here. I like to look left and find some prior swings. Those prior swings make for some of the best entries with traps, failures, and pullback combinations. Now, where's the target going to be on this? The target's really easy. Remember how I said earlier the range resets everything? The breakout leg, right? That first leg is almost always equal to that third leg. Make sense? Right? Okay. Now, I know a lot of you guys have already learned the traps, the failures, and the pullbacks. I know most of you guys have taken the free trading course. You've learned all the setups, so you know what the rules are. Most importantly, you know which variations are more likely to fail, right? If you have not taken that free trading class, if you're one of the few people watching right now that have not joined the free course to learn all the entry setups, to learn the roadmap, what I'll do is I'll put a little pop-up here for you in the upper right-hand corner. You can make your job a lot easier right now. Grab that roadmap I teach in that free trading course, completely free. It'll show you the 3 steps you want to take to find the best levels to use, how to qualify the entries, and most importantly, I provide hundreds of examples of those entry setups, the price action entries. That way you can do them on your own. You can succeed on your own. With a lot of our students, right, that do very well just off that free trading course. So grab that, right? Grab that link there. Learn the roadmap. That way, the next time I say 1, 2, 3 reversal, you'll know why I love that first test, right? First test is the best test. All right. Now, these are only a couple. Right? There's only one of them. I got a few more of these we're going to talk about here on the Nasdaq. Right? So don't go too far here as we go forward. We'll also talk about how to trade the range. Right? Actually, you know what? Let's talk range right now. Right? Nasdaq doesn't have much of a range right now. Let's talk range right now, and then we'll go to the Nasdaq. All right? On a range right now, there are three really what I think really easy ways to trade a bull market into a trading range. First thing you want to do is make sure you find levels of support below the trading range. Okay, we're bullish right now, right? Now, wait for the price to pull back to support. Once it pulls back to support, then go out and trap in those bears. Wait for the bears to try to get short off the moving average. Remember, it's a bull market, and that range acts like a magnet. Right? Ranges act like magnets. So once those bears get short here, you know exactly where their pain is. Okay? And you can literally trade right into the pain. Find the pain. The easiest money you're going to make in a range environment is waiting for a breakout, putting yourself in the shoes of the breakout traders and thinking about where would I be throwing my keyboard right now, right? Where would I be in pain right now? And that's where you want to get in, right? It's the easy money you're going to make. Now, once you get that failure, then keep an eye out for the follow-up trade, right? So failure triggers as we go back up above that high. Then watch that follow-up trade, right? That follow-up trade, see how I do that, right? So again, we pull back. The bears come in. They try to get short. We buy right into those stops, and the price takes off going higher. Don't just kick your feet up on the desk and bask in your amazingness, right? Take that new trend line off that high, off that low. Trade the turn. Trade the turn. Grab that first test off of that low. That's a failure pattern into a rotational, right? Or right, rotates higher, find that new channel, right? And we go. Where are my targets on this? Again, target 1 at the top of the channel, top of the range. Target 2 in this case, back to retest the high. Now, there is one more way you can trade a range. You ready? Now, if we can get through the pendulum swing, right? The amount we go below the range is the amount above the range. Okay? If we can break through that pendulum, let's say we go up, moving average comes over, and we blast through the pendulum, right? What do we call these? 1, 2, 3 breakouts. Now, what do? We mark up that you got it. Find that new channel and buy that first pullback. This is a money trade right here. Okay, that is a must-take trade, right? I don't care what the situation is. That's a must-take trade in my eyes, right? Because at this point now we've got all the bears are trapped. Right? The buyers have blasted right on through. Everybody wants that first pullback. And again, I say pullback, right? It's not just a straight pullback setup. It's a trap setup. It's a failure setup. Maybe it's a pullback setup, right? Off of that low. You're going to see a lot of examples of that in that free trading course. All right? Now, I'm only scratching the surface right now if the market goes higher here. All right? So let's go grab the Nasdaq. And we'll talk about how to trade it if it goes higher. Well, we'll cover the Nasdaq. Will pretty much make sense on the S&P as well. All right, let's grab the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is very, very similar here, but as you can see, though, it's quite different. First of all, it's more of a wedge, right? Now, a lot of similarities, right? So one easy similarity here is it's a hell of a bull trend, and so we know that any pullback right now, any pullback would really be great, right? And you can see I've got 2 buy zones here. So we're going to talk a little bit more about different types of pullbacks here on the Nasdaq, right? Like I said, I'm going to keep this video going and keep it interesting by giving you guys more variations of this. Okay? So buyers would love to buy those, right, deep pullbacks here. What else do we have very similar here? There's a range on here, right? And that range I think is really, really valuable. Okay, because it gives us some perspective as far as how deep that pullback, right, might go. Okay, now a little bit differences here. You can see they kind of stretched. You can tell they kind of stretched to finish off the day today to get that last Friday's close, right? That prior week close, right? So the S&P is really stuck right in that range here. The Nasdaq looks like it's got a little more legs to it, right? Got a little more legs to it, if you ask my opinion, right? What I also think is interesting in the Nasdaq is look at the open space above us, right? There's a big magnet up there at 14,100, right? At the same time, though, look at that space below us, right? You could obviously see if we can get that reversal here going, right? The bears have a plenty of space here, right, to go lower. So what do the buyers want to do right now? Yeah, the buyers want to buy dips, right? They want to buy those dips inside the buy zones, buy the dips in the buy zones. The buyers would love to get down to this area here, right? That 13,500 area, 13,550 area, right? They'd love to get that deep pullback. Buyers can also look for a breakout going higher. And so we'll talk about a couple different breakouts here because there's a couple different breakouts I want to make sure that I'm ready for and I want to make sure you're ready for as well. How about the bears? The bears have a fantastic opportunity. Like, just look at the S&P, right? If we go pulling back, we get that long off the low. If they can come back and retest the high, because after all, anytime we see a very strong move in one direction, we know the odds are very good that buyers are going to want to buy the dip and they're going to put their targets back to retest the high. The sellers would love to come in, see some signs of exhaustion, and sell short back off of that high. That's a great trade. I love that trade. Okay, obviously we'll talk more about that here right in a moment. And then also too, again, we do expect to see a deep pullback here, but if we can get that deep pullback, if those bears can hold, again, we've got some great shorts on the way, right on the way back down. And I got a couple of those we'll talk about tonight that we haven't talked about already on the S&P. All right, so let's talk about pullbacks right now, right? Let's talk about pullbacks here. One thing about the pullback is that as we go lower, if we go lower, notice we are rotating from above the range. Okay, this is a really important difference. Notice on the S&P, we're actually inside the range. So if we come lower here right now, it's just kind of a pullback. On the Nasdaq, if we roll lower, this is a relatively strong, it'll be a relatively strong pullback here. So whenever I see a rotation off the high like this, okay, here is one pullback you want to be aware of, right? Sometimes what will happen is the market will bounce off the moving average and go lower. If that's the case, draw a trend line coming down and try to get up and over and use that trend line. So again, when we're above that trading range, one of the pullbacks we want to look for is if it bounces off the moving average and then comes back down, draw that trend line right on down and use that trend line as your entry, right? Or as close to that trend line as possible. You want to buy it on that bounce off that trend line. Right? Another one you want to think about is as the market rolls lower here, it creates kind of a vacuum, right? As it goes lower here. So a relatively shallow pullback, I really like the idea of a two-try failure. I'm not so into a trap on this, but I would really want to make sure I get two tries here for the bears, try to find some level of support, right? Off a trend line or a swing line. Think about where their stops are, and I can buy right into those stops, right? Again, you'll notice that pendulum swing is right there. I like that area around that 13,600. Okay, it doesn't need to absolutely take out the pendulum, right? But think of this as somewhat of a shallow pullback right below that trading range. And then if the deep pullback would really be a great setup here for the buyers. Now you definitely want to think about, right, if it goes down, goes up, comes right like this, you want to keep an eye on those. Anytime we think about a deep pullback, you want to think about those trend lines coming down and try to get on the other side of that trend line. But on a separate note of that, if the market simply kind of runs lower here overnight, really strong move lower, and this also goes for the S&P as well. Remember, it's not enough to see a real sharp pullback in a situation like this. The sellers have to hold that pullback and go. Okay, what I'll do is I'll wait for those bears to try a couple times, right? Let them try twice. Maybe I get lucky and get a little two-try failure trap on there. That's one of my favorite variations. Bears once, bears twice. Right? One of my favorite variations. Another option would be it's a trend line signal, right? So we draw a trend line there. There's 1, 2, right? And then as we go. Now, what you want to think about though is once those bears try twice, whenever we see a really deep pullback, we want to use the two-try rule, the two-try failure. But then now think about how much space we have to go back to that high. This is why buyers really want that deep pullback, because now as we go higher, what do? We trade the turn. So we're buying off a trend line or a trap line here, right? Two-try failure, literally buying right into those stops. Then as we go higher, we mark up that new channel, right? The trend line, we find that channel. We look left, we find our prior swing, right? Prior swings are where the money is, right? Most important thing is we get below the moving average. Underneath the moving average, bears try to get short. We've got traps, we got failures, and we got pullback combos coming off that channel, right? Again, I'm just simply drawing the chart right now. If you grab that link I mentioned earlier, right, for that free trading course, you'll have all the rules to it, what they look like, things like that. So you'll know more about there on that free trading course. All right. Now, again, if the market really runs, if the bears hold and blast going lower, now it's a bear market, right? Now we go out, we find that new channel, and we simply rinse and repeat. We do a lot of these reversals into new channels, and then we stock that first pullback, because that first pullback, that's what everybody wants, right? You can't really sell that first one there, right? The deep pullback is, in this market, you can't trust the pullback to be a short, right? There's a good chance it comes right back up and snaps back to those highs here, all right? So watch that for the short side here as we go down. And then remember, that first leg, don't worry about the middle leg. The first leg is the one you want to use for the measuring leg as we go lower, all right? Now, let's say we pull back, right? We pull back. We get those bears, 1, 2. We go right back up to retest the high. How do I sell off the high here? This will also apply to the S&P, won't it? Now, remember, I would not try to pick a top on this market right now. I would really be careful trying to sell into it right now, right? As like this, right? Like a one. I would be very careful with that short. Just because I have a feeling you're going to see a lot of buyers trying to buy that dip, because there haven't been a lot of dips, right? There just weren't that many options here. That's why I said this is a very specific situation. I would like to short this if they can pull back and hold, or if they pull back and they retest. If they retest, now the buyers, kind of in quotes, have mission accomplished, right? The buyers got what they wanted. They take their profit. They got their itch scratched, if you will, right? They got their ice cream. Now let's try to go back in the direction, right? So we pull back, we retest. Now think about what's going to happen here. The buyers will try once. The buyers will try twice. Remember, you're going against momentum. Momentum is the issue here. Okay, we use the 2-try rule in these situations when momentum is tough. Okay, as you can see, there's a lot of different reasons we'll use the 2-try rule. Right? Trap 2 tries when we're shallow pullbacks, deep 2 tries to lock in the opposite side of the market. Buyers try once, buyers try twice. Where's their pain? Right? Where's their pain? Sell into that pain. As we roll lower now, what do? We trade the turn. Why? Because you know where it wants to go, right? You know now it's going to want to make that pendulum swing back in the opposite direction, and possibly slingshot all the way through and really break down. So I really like that. I really like that short off the high here. But again, I would be very careful trying to short it right now. I want to let those buyers get in. And again, all this stuff will also apply to the S&P as well. All right. This will definitely apply to the S&P as well. All right. Now, what if we go higher here? Okay. What if we go higher here? Now, again, this will also apply to the E-mini. You can definitely grab a 1, 2, 3 breakout, right? We've talked about this pattern a few times already, right? 1, 2, 3, mark up that new channel, right? And then again, buy that first pullback, right? First leg, third leg are symmetrical. Keep your eyes on that range up there. That's a big, big, big magnet for us right now, right? That 14,100, 14,200 area. Okay, we know that one already. Here's one that you really want to keep in mind. Okay, here's two more. Here's two more you want to keep in mind. And again, a lot of this is because we haven't pulled back very far. So now imagine this market spikes up overnight, right? Big spike up overnight. We chop around a little bit and we slam back down again. Think about this whole area now as a major area of support. Okay, kind of a breakout pullback. So we spike up overnight, right? Everybody goes, are you crazy? Right? We've been going higher all day. I'm not going to buy way up here. And so it chops and the rookies chase after it. People like we used to be 10 years ago before we started learning how to trade, right? We chop and we chop. There's just nobody up there to buy, right? Now, obviously things can turn, right? Things can change. I'm going on the assumption that we don't get some, peace treaty signed in Ukraine. You know what I mean? So if there's peacetime headlines, then obviously this might keep going forever, right? And I'll talk about that in a second. Right? But there's a good chance, though, if it spikes up here, we see a strong overnight, you'll see price rejection. And when price gets rejected, it'll pull back sharply. But remember, anytime we see a strong move, the odds are very good. We're going to end up right back at that high. So don't confuse this pullback now for a whoopsie daisy. No, right? Trapping those bears. Let those bears, you can almost guarantee the same people who are going to buy that shallow pullback up there are going to sell this one right here. right? And don't act like you don't know how that feels, because we all know how that feels, right? I know I did that, right? Oh, shoot, it's going higher. Get me in. Oh, crap, it stopped me. Oh, we're reversing. No, shoot, right? You get caught on both sides of it. It almost feels like the market's looking at, watching you when it's not, right? It just makes sense. We don't buy high. We don't sell low. We do the opposite. And again, this is why trading is so difficult when you're new, because your emotions are driving the truck for you, right? Not your game plan. Anyways, trap in those bears and put it right back to that high. Okay, this is a really fun trade because you can almost, the candlesticks are almost screaming for help, right, when it happens. So again, kind of that pop up. Remember, this is all because of what we saw today, right? We haven't seen any deep pullback today. So if it jams higher, and again, so here's another thing too, right? So now, what if there is some big development overnight, right? What if the market pops and starts to grind? Now all the short sellers are getting out. Okay, now everybody who predicted the end of the world, and there's a lot of folks out there predicting the end of the world right now. Just go on social media, you'll see plenty of them, right? So now the world apparently is not over, and the market pops up and starts to grind. Okay, that's a short squeeze. Okay, don't chase after it. What do? You mark up a nice tight trend line. You bring it all the way down to that major low. Okay, look left, find those prior swings, wait for that pullback. Okay, I'll be honest, when you get a really nice pop and grind like that, you can be a little more aggressive. What you got to be really careful with, though, is that pop, that really sharp move up. You're going to probably get that really deep pullback, right? Just going to keep that in mind here. And again, we're getting that trap. We're getting underneath the moving average. That's where you can lock in those bears, trying to get short, failure pullback combination. Trap, failure pullback combo. First leg, third leg, right, are your targets. All right, guys? And also, too, don't forget, we might see a range up here, right? Could pop up overnight. Everybody goes, oh, shoot, I don't want to be a buyer up here, right? Goes sideways. That's when we do that, right? That failure, that trade the turn, and that breakout going high. Remember those three patterns talked about on the S&P? Same thing. All right, guys? All right. We've covered quite a bit here in the NASDAQ, right? I'm sure there's probably something I'm going to miss. So you better be there tomorrow, and we'll make sure we do it all right together. Let's keep going, though. How am I doing so far? Are you enjoying this? If you are, you better hit that like button for me, and then maybe subscribe as well. Maybe share this video link with a friend who could also obviously benefit from it as well. All right, how about some oil? So oil, of course, is still on the crazy train right now. It obviously is. Almost a $25 move down. We are very bearish right now. Clearly, there's no doubt about that. I think probably the three most important clues on this chart are, one, the sheer size of this move. Okay, this is a huge move. And anytime we see a big move today, we oftentimes see a range the following day. Now, is that guaranteed tomorrow? Absolutely not. Nothing's ever guaranteed. Nothing. So we anticipate a range, and it looks like we might be having the beginning of that range right there. But just be aware, at some point tomorrow, this thing may kind of, be exhausted from all this movement and may start going sideways here. 110 would be a very logical area to do that. So the size of this move tells me just to be aware a range is likely for tomorrow. The second thing is just how strong this trend is. It's a very strong move down. And so what do we know whenever we see a strong move in one direction? Anytime we see a strong move in one direction, we know there's a very good chance they're going to retest that area. Okay, so we definitely have that going for us. Well, maybe not going for us, but that's also a big variable here. And of course, the third thing is this range. The range, I think, is a huge part of this. Because, think about this now. Imagine we go down to that low. There's some great buying opportunities now going back up into that trading range. At the same time, think about it this way. What if we go higher here right now? If we go higher here right now, now we have not completed the rotation, right? Pendulum swing. And that's a huge, potentially a bullish reversal. So I'll tell you right now, the bears have all the control right now, but it's not easy to be a seller. The only way the sellers can really short this thing right now, because again, think about it. If we go lower, we're going to run right into that low. That's a great spot to get long with the right entry setup, right? If we go higher here, this is going to be a huge trend line here, right? I mean, come on. This is just asking to get bought up for a big 1-2 try failure. I love that trade long right there. So it's not going to be easy to get short unless there definitely are some options here, unless we can get into this range some more, right? If we can really kind of get this range going, then I could definitely see some shorts coming in, because that range just becomes the magnet, right? And I get some great levels overhead. I can easily see where there could be some shorts there, right? Or we've really got to get this thing to push and hold, which might not be that easy, right? I've got a potential runaway zone down here at 95, right? 94, 64. So if the Bears, if things go well for the oil production, or the perception of oil production, that's really what it is, right? There's plenty of oil out there in the world right now. The perception of oil production or oil security right now, that can easily drive the thing lower. Okay, so how do we make our money on this? And I do realize we are running low on time here. What do the buyers want to do? Yeah, the buyers want to buy off that low, right? The buyers want to buy it as it goes back up into our magnets overhead. How about the bears? Yeah, the bears got to go sideways here, pop up and short back down. The bears got to go, and they really got to push, right, and get that move lower. What would my favorite trade be for tomorrow? I think my favorite trade, and obviously I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow at this point, right? My favorite trade for tomorrow, though, would be a retest of this low or down into this. Again, remember, anytime you see a range, the breakout leg is the measuring leg. So that area right there at 100 even is a really nice area here. I think it's a great setup right now. Take out that low, right, as we go lower. Bears try once, bears try twice, sell into stops, grab that first test, and ride that pendulum, baby, right? Ride that pendulum. The amount we go below, the amount we go above, right? And then this could easily, think about this, this could easily short squeeze, start popping higher, find that new channel, you know what I'm saying, right? This could easily short squeeze at that point now, and you're buying that one too, right? 2-try failure. And again, this could be a trap or a failure or a pullback combo, trap, failure pattern off that low, right? That sequence, whether it's off of this low or off of this low, is a very good trade, and a really, 5x, 10x, 15x trade, given how big these moves have been lately. Now, as we go lower here, what would it take for me to sell this market? We have to take out these lows, and we've got to punch, right? Like, this thing has to give me like one of these guys. You know what I mean? It's got to really punch and run through it, right? It's got to look like, its pants are on fire here. Mark that low, mark that high, and then again, we drill down to our faster time frame, and we grab that first test with whichever entry pattern that we get, right? Again, you'll learn the entry setups in that free video course I mentioned there. Another one would be that pop and that grind. That is also fine, right? A pop and a grind. Mark up that low, mark up that high, right? Make sure that grind convincingly pushes through that measured move area. All that momentum now is bearish. There's a good chance we go up, trap, failure, pullback, and right back down to that low. Breakout leg is the measuring leg, right? That'll help you finalize that final target. Okay? So as the mark goes lower. Now, what if we go sideways here? If we go sideways here right now, nothing changes really for the buy side. Well, let's put it this way. If we go sideways here overnight and then we go lower, this becomes even better of a trade now, because now that range above you is just a juicy magnet and everybody's going to see it, right? So now the same thing, right? Same idea applies now. Nothing changes there, right? Nothing changes for the breakout move either. What I think is most important, though, is if we go sideways here overnight or into tomorrow morning, then we see that pop up here. See, now this is something I can get into, looking for a short here. I love this area. If you look left, this is a big low here from it's a previous low. Now, what's the problem with this? The problem is the rotation coming off of that, right off of that low. This is going to get bought up. You know it is, right? If this thing pops above that range, the buyers are going to want this, okay? They're going to want this. And we're not quite there yet. So what I'll do is I'll look for those buyers once, buyers twice, and use that 2-try failure to really protect myself against those buyers, right? Make sense? Okay? Now, like I said before, you can imagine though, this could easily 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3 into a new channel. Find that new channel, grab that first test, right? And again, think about this zone up here, that 122 area, right? Breakout leg, measuring leg, okay? Or maybe it pops and grinds and grinds and grinds. Short squeeze, right? Short squeeze, draw it tight. Mark that swing. Get that trap, right? You know what I'm saying on that one? I like that. I like the trade a lot, right? So this is kind of how I want to trade if it goes sideways here for tomorrow. Or another one of my favorites, and I mentioned this briefly in the beginning here, is let's say, for example, that we go, maybe a little bit lower overnight. We start going higher here now. Now think about the bears have tried once, and this is kind of a weird way of looking at a 2-try failure, but now that 1-try, 2-try, trend line comes up, right? Hidden channel is drawn off that low. Now you've got this nice little support zone right there. We're waiting for that pullback, get underneath that moving average, trap, failure, pullback combo. That's a great trade, right? Off that new low. Because again, you got that rising support trend line there, And then I think probably the only thing on this, if it kind of pops up like this, right? Pops up like this. I'm thinking about, okay, how do I short, right, underneath this? This is going to be the hardest. This would be the hardest one, I would imagine, right? They get up in this area, bears come in, they go, finally, let's hit it. They run it underneath that trend line. This is going to be a gutsy trade. That'll be a gutsy trade, right? What is probably more likely on this is going to be that move up, that move back down, right? And then a trap somehow, right, above that trading range. That'll be a little bit easier to try to take. Make sense? Right? But again, I would rather just get that long going if they can hold that trend line there. All right. Guys, as you can see, there is a plethora, a buffet of trades here for tomorrow. We've now planned our trades. Now it's time to trade the plan. And that is exactly why our trade room is such a great place to be. If you're sick and tired of missing the best trades each day, if you're taking too many losses, or maybe you're like I was when I was a new trader. I had horrible anxiety every day because I lost a lot of money. I didn't know how to make money. I didn't know how to stop the bleeding. And, I provide a roadmap every day. We plan our trades. We trade our plan. And we have a lot of fun doing it at the same time, right? So, whether you're sick and tired of missing winners, you're not making enough money, or you're bleeding out right now because of losses that are piling up, don't go keep blowing accounts, scouring YouTube. Get registered as a member. We got a bunch of great specials going on right now in the month of March. I'd be happy to go over all that stuff on the phone or use live chat. We're always here to help out. I'll put all the free course links, all the membership links, all that stuff before you guys in the description of the YouTube video. And we'll sign off here for now. Get some rest tonight. We get a busy next couple days here tomorrow with that CPI report. Hopefully we see some good news come out of Ukraine, for the world's sake, and we get that rollover. All right. If I don't see you guys tomorrow morning at 8:00 in the members trade room, I will see you guys tomorrow night. We'll do it all over again, and we'll get ready for a Friday trading session. As always, my name is Joseph. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and be well out there. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time as well. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.